people are specifically looking up your name, which is very rare. Like they're not finding you through playlists. They're literally like, you could see that this, like, your link was sent on like DMs or messages. And I was like, oh, that's
Wow.
cool. I don't know what that means, but cool.
This is about you and your journey in music and how you got to where you are now. First off, tell me, were you born and raised in Indonesia and Jakarta? Is that where you were born and raised?
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? Tell me about it. I just interviewed Nikki, who I think is your label mate.
Yeah,
On there.
she's also
from there, which was really cool when I saw that and put that together. But talk to me about your journey there.
Well, my dad's from Texas and my mom's Indonesian. And so I grew up kind of just like born and raised in Indonesia, but I used to go to Houston a lot to say hi and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so I don't know, I feel like I'm Indonesian. But lucky enough, my dad finessed a American citizenship when I was born for me. So it's very easy for me to work here.
Okay, so are you in the States now, or are you in Indonesia?
Yeah.
Oh,
I live in LA now.
Oh, very cool. Awesome. So did you spend most of your childhood then, though, growing up in Indonesia, and then you just kind of come back here to see your dad and to now work, obviously?
Pretty much, yeah. It's like, well, my dad was in Indonesia with me when I was growing up. He was my school principal, actually.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, we specifically go here for the Texas barbecue.
Okay. My family and I recently moved to Nashville, but before we moved here, we went to Houston, and we were like this close to moving to Houston, but it didn't work out.
You should have.
Yeah, we were looking at like
place.
Katy, Texas, and like Sugarland. I think there's another spot down there.
Sugarland.
Isn't that what it's called? Is there Sugarland or something like that?
I've never heard of a Sugarland, but it sounds like Texas.
Okay. And your mom is a musician, correct? Like you come from musical roots.
Yeah.
And how did you get into music? Were you kind of from mom at an early age?
Yeah, I think like growing up, I was just always tagging along with her to her shows, and she used to like be a judge on Indonesian Idol, and also a coach in The Voice. So I just kind of like joined her along those fun little activities. But mostly I would say like she didn't really like teach me a lot about it. It was very much like learn as you go, because she never wanted to like pressure any of her kids to do anything they didn't want to do. Okay. Which kind of made it so that all of her kids now don't really know anything. Like we were all kind of like, Mom, like why did you push us to like stick to things? Because basically when we were young, we would take a piano lesson if we asked, and then if we got like bored of it, we would just tell her, and she'd be like, okay, let's move on to the next thing. But now it's like we all know the basics of everything, but we don't know like how to do anything really well, because she just let us give up a lot.
Okay.
But it was because she didn't want to be like a tiger mom,
Yeah, she was probably like, well, because she is in the industry and is a musician, maybe she thought like if she was like, oh no, you need to do the piano, like you have to at least do the piano, you might resent her or resent the instrument, not want to do it at all, right? At that point you might be like, well, this is a chore, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, definitely. I think she was like being a good mom. We're just like, as we are older, we're like, dang, we wish we had that little thing that we did growing up. Like,
for sure,
we wish we were professional ice skaters or something,
So were you involved in a lot of things? And like, so if you were doing piano and then you stopped, or I don't know if you did ice skating, but whatever it may be, were those things that you kind of did for a little bit of time? Was there, aside from maybe music, was that something that you kind of took a passion for, early on in life, or not as much?
Yeah, actually, I thought I was gonna do art, like visual arts, for the rest of my life. I was really into that. My mom was a really great painter as well, and that was the one thing that I forced her to like teach me, because She was really good. And I was like, it's free art lessons, mom. Not realizing she literally is like working all the time. So her free time I end up stealing. But yeah, I really thought I was going to do art, like graphic design or just like things like that. But I got into music because I really wanted to be a producer.
Oh,
and
okay.
then yeah, but
what drew you to wanting to produce? Was it just the idea of making, music on the computer, or what was that kind of pulled you towards that? Do you remember?
it was like I got into K-pop, and then I thought the production was really fun. And so I really wanted to learn how to produce for K-pop one day. Um, and so I took a gap year before I went to college, and I took a production class. And then while I was taking that class, it was like a 5-month course or something. Like my brother took it because he's like a DJ and he wanted to learn. Um, and so I took it in 2019. And then I wanted to put music out to like put my name out there in case people want to like hire me as a writer or something. And my second ever song was I Love You 3000, which ended up doing really, really well. So I did not finish that production class. I had like 2 months left. But when I put
so
it
did you not
out,
end up finishing it because
no,
you're like,
because
well, this
88 Rising was like, hey, do you want to come to the US to promote and shit? And I was like, okay.
Like, of course I do.
Yes, I'll go.
You're like, no, I got 2 months left in this class.
Yeah, I was like,
sorry.
I
might pick up something very important.
I did end up skipping the one thing I was scared of, because apparently like a month after I did it, like I left to the US to promote it, like we had my friend who was in it, she was like, yeah, we had to perform live and like DJ set, and that was the one thing I really didn't want to do because I know that I was gonna mess it up somehow, and I was really nervous about it, like super anxious. So I actually kind of, it worked out. I actually made LV 1000 specifically so I didn't have to do that one.
Oh, that's interesting. So you hadn't really wrote songs prior to doing that, or you said that was the second song you ever wrote?
Yeah, I mean, I had one song before that I wrote, but like it was in Indonesian. Like my mom translated it for me because my Indonesian skills weren't that good.
So you wrote it in English and then she translated it into English.
And then we put out like both versions, but the like main one was the Indonesian one. And that one was like very produced out and everything, whereas with I Love You 3000 it was like I was looking for a guitarist for me to perform stuff with, and then I was like, hey, can you play the guitar on this? And then we like just sent it to a mixer that we found on like Facebook Marketplace or something.
That's wild. And then it becomes this massive song.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, so when you put out, because you did like what, a cover song was the very, very first thing? Like that was like,
yeah,
a what, 2015 or something.
Yeah, that was for a movie.
Yeah. So you did that. Was it just, did somebody reach out to you? Did you know, like, how did you get involved with that?
Yeah, I guess like the context is, so there was a movie, I think like made in like 1999 or something, and it was like the biggest movie in Indonesia. And basically I think like 16 years later or 10 years later, they wanted to do like a second version, like a sequel, like but it's like really far away. And the singer who made all the soundtrack for the first movie, like the singer and writer, she is my friend's mom from my school. And so she wanted her son to like reproduce one of the songs, like one of the main songs, because her son was really into production at the time. And then she was like, do you have a singer you want to invite on? Because she wanted like new singers for like all these new versions. And then he was like, I guess I'll ask like someone from my grade. And so he asked me because and I wasn't even the first one. I wasn't even the first person he asked. But he asked me.
You're like, oh, so I'm second best? Yeah. What's going on here?
I wasn't like overtly a singer at the time. Like I had my best friend, I had a bunch of friends who were like doing the musicals at school and like doing performances. I literally just like, I could sing, but I never really did anything because I was like shy. But yeah, he asked me, and then so I hopped on that. And yeah, like and I knew his mom as well. Like his mom was good friends with my mom because they were both singers. But yeah, so that's kind of how it came to be.
Wow. I mean, that's a great song. And obviously it made the film and everything. So that must have been a pretty cool moment to hear that song. And was that the first time you ever really like recorded something or?
Well, like, yes, kind of. Well, my mom had a couple songs where she wanted her kids to like sing in it.
Oh,
like
wow.
There was a couple, I think the first time I ever recorded was, so my mom wrote a song for all of her kids. She has a song specifically for all of us. And mine, it was under mine, like, it was called Stephanie. And I think I was like 5 or 6. And then I remember we were in her bedroom and her and my dad were trying to get me to like laugh and say random things, because throughout the song you hear like parts where I was ad-libbing going like, who do you think you are, don't think about it, ha ha ha, like stuff like that. So that was the first time I was like recording. But,
sure.
Yeah.
Wow, I have to go back and listen to it. That's pretty funny. I mean, that's really cool that she took that had you all involved in that way.
Yeah, we're free labor.
Right. When you were growing up, like with your mom being on, Idol and The Voice and all those things, was that something that, like, would you see her at home writing, or like, especially like now with your music career, do you bounce ideas off of your mom at all, or are you guys two kind of separate entities when it comes to the industry?
I think we're very separate, and I mean, I like show things to her when they're done, because I know that she'll always like be positive about it.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I thought you were gonna be like, she's always brutally honest.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's like if I ever feel down, I just like show her something, because she's always like, ooh, this is so cool, even though it's like very not cool. But she's just like a great supportive person. But yeah, like we don't really do anything together, but recently, because I started getting back into production, because I wanted to like be a producer in the next 5 years. Like I have a 5-year plan. I produced and wrote a song, and then I sent it to her, and I think she might be putting it out. But I told her to translate it into Indonesian, because I think it'd be cooler in Indonesian.
Wow, that's awesome. So you've wrote a song, and pitched it to your mom, and she's gonna cut it for her next record or something, or for
yeah,
song.
possibly.
That's
I don't
awesome.
know. I think she's trying to like find the right time for it.
Yeah. Well, that's special. Wow, that's really cool to be able to do that and write a song, for your mom or with your mom.
Yeah.
So you wanted to be a producer. Was there a producer you were looking up to that kind of made you want to go that route, or?
I think it was more so like there was like a specific genre that got me really into producing.
Just K-pop?
It was like K-pop, but specifically, do you remember in 2016 when every song on the radio was like tropical house?
Oh yeah, like
I was
the
a
Kygo
tropical
stuff?
house stan. Yeah, like so basically I was really into like Kygo, Jonas Blue, like Major Lazer, like those DJs slash producers at the time, and I really wanted to be one of them, because also at the time a lot of K-pop artists were doing tropical house. And so it all just kind of matched together and inspired me to want to learn. The only thing with those DJs is like I want to DJ. I don't know. I feel like I'm not set for going like this. Like I feel like I'm just gonna want to sing, But I recently made a friend, Elefante, who's a DJ, and he plays guitar. Like he doesn't really do this. He like plays guitar on his songs while he DJs.
I've had him on my podcast. Like,
oh, you did?
Like in 2019, yeah, I had him on when we did it in person when he came to San Diego. I'm originally from San Diego, and a couple of years ago we moved to Nashville. But when we started this podcast in like 2018 or whatever, it was all obviously in person. There's no pandemic, and yeah, Elefante came on. He's a really cool guy, and yeah, he does guitar live, and I think Griffin, doesn't he do that too? He plays instruments live.
Possibly.
Yeah, there's some of those guys will do that, and it's funny that you're like, I don't want to do like.
I'll plug a USB in. That's what I'll do. But are you into EDM music at all?
Yeah, I am. I'm into all genres of music. I've had a bunch of different genres on my podcast, but yeah, I like it. We've had Slushy on, and I'm trying to think who else. Griffin, Tropic, I don't know, other people. I can't think off the top of my head right now, but yeah, it's really interesting to hear because it's a different like upbringing when it comes to DJing and producing electric music versus like, oh yeah, I got a guitar and then I started this band and then blah blah blah. It's like it's just such a different path. And I think nowadays it's such a massive genre of music, obviously, that people are interested to hear, well, how did they do because I didn't know much about it before I really started asking questions. It was just like, oh, that's cool. Like you can make music on the whatever, DJ or whatever. I didn't really understand what kind of it all entailed, but it's a lot of stuff. And it's, so you were more just interested in the production of it. It wasn't like, I want to go DJ like a massive festival or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's really funny because my brother's a DJ and I think he specifically focuses on the DJing part and I like the producing part. But yeah, I think maybe it's also because I grew up like seeing my mom perform and I was like more attracted to that than just DJing. But hey, we can do whatever we want,
Right.
We make our own show. Like, what are they going to do? Tell us to stop.
That's a beauty, right? They can't. With that, like you remember going to see your mom perform really young? I mean, you said you'd go with her to TV sets. Was that like a cool thing, or were you like bored there? I mean, sometimes you'll hear people like, yeah, and then my kid was just kind of sitting out of the corner and didn't really care about what was happening.
I was not an iPad kid. iPad didn't exist yet, but it was really fun because I was also like one of those kids that like love attention. And so I was walking around annoying as hell, like trying to, talk to everybody backstage. So to me, I just remembered, meeting a lot of people. And which is why now it's like, whenever I meet people, they're like, I remember when you were this tall. And I was like,
yeah,
how? And they were like, backstage in this play. And I was like, oh yeah, sounds like me.
That must be wild. Yeah, you're now they're seeing you grown and with a career, and they're like, oh my gosh, like Stephanie was this little girl like running around backstage, and now look what you accomplished. Do you remember seeing people like that got like knocked off the stage, like they would get like turned down or whatever? Like, okay, you're voted off tonight. It's like
I think I was too young to like comprehend what was happening other than that people were singing.
Okay.
But for sure, I've definitely seen people. But yeah, I like maybe because they shoot so late that when it does come to that point, I'm like dead asleep.
Okay.
Going on the seats. Like
you were watching the like final five and like somebody's just heartbreak on stage.
Yeah. I think I tried to like watch the finale. But I don't know, when you're young, you're not focusing on the person who's losing, you're focusing on the person winning.
The winner.
So right. Happy,
But yeah. Cool. Well, okay, so you took this production class. In the class, that's when you wrote I Love You 3000. And so I want to hear about that moment. Like, you put the song together. I from what I read and what I've learned about you in the song is you just kind of you had the music behind it and we're just like, help me, I need a line for this song. And then somebody threw out I Love You 3000.
Yeah, it was, well, basically I was supposed to go out with friends and they bailed on me. And then I did a Q&A on Instagram and I was like, because I've done this a couple times before. I was like, give me a word or a phrase and I'll make it into like a short song. And usually it's like goofy, with like a couple serious songs sprinkled in. But the Avengers movie just came out, so a bunch of people sent in I Love You 3000. And then I just like made the chorus, like 10 minutes, posted it on my story, and then the next day a bunch of people wanted the full song. So originally I was just gonna record with my like bad mic at home and like put it out, but my mom was like, hey, so this is where the Nepo baby comes in. I am a Nepo baby. This is when my mom was like, hey, I love the song. Do you like please record it and get a mixer and get like it legit done. and I'll pay for it. And I was like, sure, money girl. So
Show
she
money, girl.
helped with that. And then I like recorded a music video on my phone, walking around Jakarta. And then, yeah, that was pretty much how it happened. Like when I put it out, it was like, so I put out through TuneCore, and with TuneCore, it's like, you know, you can put it out how soon, like however soon you want.
Right.
So I didn't know that you were supposed to put it like 2 weeks before, so the playlisters can playlist it, yada yada.
Oh, they can hear it beforehand and see if they want to play this. Sure.
Yeah, but even if I did, like I was nobody. Like in terms of with Spotify, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have a marketing budget. I was an indie artist. I had no label and everything. So like even then, like nothing was gonna happen. But I ended up putting it out like 3 days after I was done with everything. I was just like, what's the soonest I can post it?
Uh-huh.
And then it came out, and I think like the first week, the first 3 days, it had like 10,000 views on YouTube. It was like kind of like it did better than my other stuff, but but it wasn't like blowing up. I was like, ooh, oh my god, I'm famous. And then in a week it had 1 million views, and I was like, whoa, what's happening?
You're like, now I'm famous.
Yeah. And then in 2 weeks I had 5 million.
Holy shit.
And then so I was like, what is happening? But I remember I was still going to class, and none, like my friends knew about the song, but like they knew it because of me. Like they didn't know it was like going big or anything like that. Yeah. So they were just like, oh, this is cool. And then I remembered like Indonesia didn't realize how well it was doing, but the US, like the Western market was, because I was getting like 10 emails a day from labels from the US, but it took another 2 weeks for labels in Indonesia to reach out.
Interesting.
So it seems like the US just has a better grip on like data, maybe.
Well, that I feel like, yeah, a lot of the people are just watching that. Like when something starts trending, it's like other artists I've talked to that have like had that viral moment that, you know, maybe ended up getting signed and putting a bunch of records out. But it's always like once that first thing starts to really do something, then the managers and people that are seeking that stuff out will come out of the woodwork and be like, oh, hey, Stephanie, what do you got going on? Like, what's up with the song? But that's interesting. It took a couple of weeks for the Indonesian labels to come towards you. But what was there, like when the US labels were reaching out, were you just not, like, were you overwhelmed, or like why did you kind of wait, or did you not wait?
Basically, my mom had a manager, so she kind of took a look at all the labels, and then she like made me a list of all the like big labels, all the major labels and stuff. But then we saw this one email that was not from 88, but it was from a company that was distributing 88 at the time. And they were like, you know, we'd love to talk. And then at the time, like my biggest song, like my most played song of the year before that was Midsummer Madness from 88 Rising. So I was like, oh. And then I got into contact with the CEO of 88, and then we just started talking. And yeah, I think it's definitely like just immediate. Like I knew immediately I wanted to work with them, just because I've heard a lot of horror stories of people signing with major labels, and then, you know, then they own your masters, but they don't do anything. Whereas with 88, I already knew that like they have worked with 2 Indonesians before that, so
right,
like they know the vibes, but also like it seemed like they were able to help you out and stuff like that. So like there hasn't been a time when they haven't allowed me to put music out and stuff like that. So it's like been such an amazing ride with them. So yeah, it kind of, I definitely was biased from the start. I was like,
okay.
You guys like, wow.
Like, yeah, I'm pretty confident I want to go with them.
Yeah.
Like, even though there's a bunch of other people kind of poking out of the or sending you emails and stuff. So like when you said you put it up on your story, like did you have a big following on Instagram at the time?
I had like enough because of my mom, but also I did like a couple like little things here and there. Like I did this like goofy reality show when I was 14 for like YouTube, and then it was mostly from my mom. Like if I had to remember, maybe I had like 300,000 followers.
That's still, yeah,
which is a lot. Like
yeah, that's a lot. I mean, now you have like 1 million more than that, which is wild. But Yeah, so people were going up, but even having 300,000 followers, just because you post something on your story doesn't necessarily mean anyone's gonna seek it out, but they did, you know.
Yeah, I think it was more so like, I remember the song blew up because a bunch of Indonesian like influencers and actors and singers like found it like just like on YouTube or something, and then they put it on their story being like, yo, the song is great, and then like would tag me on Instagram, and these people would be people with like 1, 5, 10 million followers.
Oh wow.
And so that's how it made the rounds. Like it was like I think it was one of the most natural way a song could blow up, because this was not, it didn't blow up on TikTok.
Right.
It didn't blow
Yeah,
up.
it was like, that's what I think is really fascinating. Sorry,
Yeah.
it didn't blow up on TikTok. It didn't really, it blew up on YouTube, it sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much. YouTube, and like it was apparently shared a lot. Like I went to the Spotify office like a month after the song came out, and they were showing me the data. They were like, yeah, like people are specifically looking up your name, which is very rare. Like they're not finding you through playlists. They're literally like, you could see that this like your link was sent on like DMs or messages. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't know what that means, but cool.
Like, yeah, that's great. They're just like mind blown, like, oh my gosh, we didn't have to like put you on like an editorial playlist or anything. So you have these conversations. That was the second song you said you ever wrote, and then all of these people are reaching out and like, getting this attention. Were you concerned at all about, okay, well, I don't really have like a back catalog of songs, and this thing is like taking off? Is this gonna happen again? Or like where was your mindset after having all these people like then reaching out on this one song that was really the second thing you had ever done?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was mostly thinking about how cool it was. I was on like cloud 9.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really think about the song part. So sorry.
Bless you.
Sorry about that. So the two songs I have after were pitch songs, by like amazing writers and producers. So, but 88 found those songs for me. Okay. And then after that, it was sad because I wanted to start doing sessions and stuff because, honestly, my passion is songwriting as well. But then I had to go back home to Indonesia because of the pandemic. So after that, I didn't even get to start writing until like, I'd say 2022, I moved back here, and that's when I started being like a singer-songwriter, and not just like taking pitch songs.
Yeah. So the whole time during the pandemic, were you still doing the pitch songs, like Straight to You and Selfish and those ones? Selfish
was a pitch song. Straight to You was like a song I did like a week before I flew back to Indonesia.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like a lot of Zoom stuff, which I don't know. I feel like Zoom sessions don't help you as a writer as much because you don't get to like get better. I was in Indonesia. The time zones were weird. I was up at like 3 a.m. calling these producers from the US that like, mostly were like hip hop R&B producers because 88 Rising connected me with them.
Right.
But now it's like I have my like favorite roster of like pop producers. I'm a pop girl. So it was detrimental that I found pop people. But yeah, like better place now as a writer.
Yeah, and then you went back to LA when it was okay to do so, or
when I got vaccinated. Yeah, I zoomed. Well, I didn't even mean to move here. I was here for a month to do work and stuff, and then Indonesia went into lockdown while I was supposed to go back, so I couldn't even fly back. And I was like, I guess I'll just move. I mean, I'm a citizen. Like, what are they gonna do?
What are they gonna do?
So yeah, I up and left, and the first time back to Indonesia was last year for Head in the Clouds Jakarta. But yeah.
Wow. Okay, so when you were back in LA, is that when you wrote like your EPs and stuff, like the AMPM EP? Was that songs that you were putting?
AMPM was fully during the pandemic.
Okay, and then Oh to Be in Love was when you got back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Oh to Be in Love was half while I was still in Indonesia.
Okay, and those are all songs that you had written like this over Zoom?
one Bad Haircut I wrote by myself on guitar, and then I sent it over to a producer. But other than that, it was mostly like in person, I
Oh, in
think.
person for O to Be in Love, but like even what about AMPM? You said that was
AMPM was fully Zoom, like
okay.
nothing,
Yeah, it was just all
nothing
over
else.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one, Bad Haircut. Yeah, and then but you were back in LA at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you put out Breakfast in Bed at the end of the year as well. And you've done a handful of other singles. You recently was invited, and are you putting together like an album or like what or doing singles? Like what? Tell me about Invited, and then I want to hear kind of what you have coming up.
Yeah. So I would say after Ode to Be in Love and like Breakfast in Bed, like I realized a lot of the stuff I was writing was very pandemic coded, like it was very slow and chill. And then I started doing shows and touring, and I was like, this is so boring. So me and the team we sat down and we made a new sound for us. So Astrologically Logical, Invited, and all the new stuff is this new sound I'm doing. And it is just like more upbeat, a little grungier. It's perfect for like performances and stuff. And that I don't know if it's all going to lead up to a project, but it's all like a new sound that I'm doing.
Very cool. And were you, when you decided to change the sound a little bit, were you at all concerned, or like, are people going to dig the new, the sound from me, or did you just figure like, my fans are so, yeah, I don't know. Were you worried about putting out something that didn't sound quite the same as your other songs?
I think it was less like so concerned, but I was like excited to do it, but I knew that it was gonna like go to a different part of DSPs, because it's not as, I was always putting like the chill coffee playlist because all my songs were so chill. So I knew that I was gonna have to kind of rebuild some of my fan base, especially the ones that like only know my music and aren't like necessarily like following me for everything. And I think it's been cool, and I mean the numbers are definitely like different than before, but I think we're like getting a new group of people to be interested, because I'm like trying to get more of like into that like indie alt world, because I'm really into the music in there. So it's a slow and steady progress.
Yeah, I love the songs that you've been putting out. I was just listening to them earlier today. I was curious. You said you're more into like the indie alt world now, as far as like the genre you listen to, because you started off with, you like the K-pop, like tropical pop producer thing. Like, what are you listening to now, or was there like a band or a song or a vibe that you're like, oh, I want to kind of steer my music in this direction?
I grew up really into like Two Door Cinema Club and Arctic Monkeys and Of Monsters and Men, like those bands that were like just like indie rock kind of. And so I wanted to take a lot of inspiration from there. But like there wasn't a lot of feminine sounds. It was a very masculine genre at the time. So I'm like excited that I'm putting that more feminine ethereal twist to that genre pretty much.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Of Monsters and Men was kind of the closest thing. I mean, some of it, because they had the female vocalist, but yeah, Arctic Monkeys and all that was pretty masculine forward for sure. Well, I love what you're doing. You said you did a show. Are you doing more shows? I mean, coming up, or
I have a couple festivals, and then I'm trying to open for a lot of artists, a lot of my friends. It's just like weird because I started off very lucky, where I immediately had a full band, immediately had a tour manager, all of these things, and then now I'm like we're trying to budget better. So now I'm trying to do everything myself, and so 2 months ago I went on tour with Lynn Lapid, and I was my own everything. It was just me, and Definitely needed it for my soul, I think, for my character growth, but it was hard.
Humbling a little bit.
Having everyone,
Wow. So now you're rebuilding the team, sounds like. And
it's really cool. I mean, I didn't have a manager when I signed with 88 Rising, and so I ended up having managers that were like in the label. And then I have a whole team now, and part of it is also 88 started hiring a lot of people recently.
That's good. That's a good thing for the label and for you, I'm sure.
Like having to fight for attention to now always having somebody to text, which is really nice. But
that's awesome.
That's the vibes.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. You have, I have one more question actually for you. Okay. Sorry. I almost forgot to ask you the last question I ask every guest. That's where my head's at today. I don't know what the hell's going on right now.
It's the Dallas Heat. Wait, Nashville Heat.
Nashville Heat. I think it's because my wife's been having me get up in the morning and walk with her like super early. And I don't know. It's just
for your health.
It is for my health, but it's like like knocking me off off track. I'm like, shit, like probably because I've been up since 5 walking around. No, so I'm sorry. I was gonna say, do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Oh, my advice is to be kind and like stay kind, because I think a lot of artists think that, oh, you're the artist, you're the client, you're the main person, that you can stop trying to treat people with as much respect and kindness as you can, because what are they gonna do? But at the end of the day, like the best thing you could do is to have a team of people who like you, you know, most of all, but also to just be a good person. I think don't let your position get in your head, because you don't want to be a meanie.